that some ministers conjured up post-Civil War still resonate with so many people today? Why do so many people believe it? Why do so many people, when shown the plain text of the Constitution, say and still argue, well, yeah, but we're still a Christian nation? Why are they oblivious to facts? Well, this is where we kind of get into the realm of psychology, perhaps, a little bit. And there are a number of reasons, I think, why this is so. Number one would be that there's a myth of, or a desire of national goodness that every nation wants. We really perfected that in the United States. Think about it for a minute. Some of our founding myths. Manifest destiny. We were given the land by God, and we didn't have to respect the rights of the people that had it first. George Washington never told a lie. He chopped down that cherry tree, told his dad, oh, I can't tell a lie. Yes, I did it. We know these stories aren't true, but they still hold great power and resonance for people because they point to what we like to believe is the fundamental goodness of our people. And it's difficult to face up to the times when we have fallen short of that standard. And for many people in this country, for a long period of time, the fundamental goodness of the people was summarized in Christianity. So naturally, if we're fundamentally good people, we must have endorsed or adopted some version of this faith. The second animating principle here is the myth of the stolen legacy. This is a very powerful, motivating myth for people. Many cultures, and many times, in many places. The stolen legacy myth is this in a nutshell. There was this time when we had all this great stuff, and we were really doing well, and we were living so wonderfully, and then it was taken from us. It was stolen from us. And the religious right, and people like Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck and some of these other folks, they've perfected this argument. We were doing just fine until the liberal secularists came along and took the nation. And we're going to get it back. I mean, I go to religious right meetings. I hear this stuff all the time. We're taking the nation back. It's our country. They took it from us. The Supreme Court, the secular humanists, whoever they want to blame, whoever the enemy du jour is, they'll find a way. We're going to get it back. The third principle, fear of social change. Very powerful motivating factor for a lot of people. Fear of social change. Because they're afraid of the way things are shaking out, worried about changes in society, they reach back to this golden past, this mythical past that exists, if we could just get back to that period. How many times have you heard someone say, well, you know, it was just great in the 50s when mom stayed home and dad had a salary and the children never sassed and talked back and it was Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver. Man, wasn't that great? Yeah, right. Of course, if you were a black guy living in the Jim Crow South, 1950s weren't so great. If you were a woman who wanted to work outside the home in a profession other than teaching or secretarial work, the 1950s were not so great. If you were a Jew who wanted to stay in a hotel somewhere where they didn't allow it, well, the 1950s weren't so great. But this is a very powerful, motivating myth for a lot of people. Fear of social change. And we're seeing this today with the religious right. They are absolutely terrified about some of the changes that are occurring in the society. The ground is shifting beneath their feet and they don't know what to do. Oh my God, a same-sex couple was walking down the street and they have a baby! I go to the meetings, folks. I'm not making it up. I hear this stuff, okay? They're terrified because they cannot stop these things. They can't stop it. It's like the people that are concerned about the fact that the nation is changing demographically. These things are happening. It's a tide. And they're just terrified. Terrified. So fear of social change leads people to go back to this idea of our great Christian nation. Only we can get back, if only we can convince enough people to embrace that idea, we'll get it back to the way it used to be. And we'll work out that business with those same-sex couples and their babies. It's sad. I mean, this is the terrifying fear of social change. That's the third. The fourth principle is it's simply a means of political power for a lot of people. And I don't want to sound too cynical, but there are a lot of people out there who just use this myth to get themselves elected in public office, stand up, rant and rave, talk about how great it is to be stupid. I'm not going to name any names, but there was a certain governor who gave a speech at a certain fundamentalist university the other day, bragging about how bad his grades were in college. And he was pointing out as a good thing. Faith, superior to education. And if we could just get back to that again, plain and simple means to political power for some people. Next principle, just plain plain simple bigotry. Some of these people don't like Jews, they don't like Muslims, they don't like Hindus, they don't like Buddhists, they don't like atheists. Can you imagine that? So, they don't like any of these people. And when they get back to the Christian nation, well, we're going to show those people where they belong. We get them back in their place. So, simple bigotry. Revisionism is also a very powerful motivating factor for a lot of people to get involved in religious right organizations. I talked about the politicians who manipulate that sentiment. Well, it wouldn't be there to be manipulated if somebody hadn't created it first. And that's when the religious right comes in. When I go to their meetings again, you hear all this sort of talk about how we get this nation back, it's our nation, all this talk. The revisionist historical perspective is very much like creation science. They don't like the facts. They're offended by the facts. So they just come up with some new facts, what they call facts, and they put those out there. Now I'm going to wrap up by talking a little bit about why we need to oppose this. Now this may seem like a no-brainer. Well, it's wrong. That's why we need to oppose it. But it's more than that. It really is. It's wrong. It's offensive. The Christian nation myth excludes people. It excludes huge numbers of people. And not just Jews and atheists and Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims. It excludes